Hey everybody, it's Eugene here, and I'm going to be talking about accessories that you can use with your iPhone when you're going to be scanning with Recon 3D. And so on this table here, I've got a whole bunch of different things, and you don't need all of them. In fact, you don't need anything. So if all you want to scan with is your phone, you can absolutely do that, okay? You can just hold something by hand, move it around, the object or whatever, and you're good to go. So no problem there. Let's start with poles and monopods and things like that, because that's something that will probably be utilized if you're going to be scanning cars. And the reason is you want to be able to get above the vehicle, and you want to be able to point the phone down towards the roof and the hood and things like that. So the more perpendicular the phone is to a surface, the better the return is of the laser signal. So for that, there are a number of different types of phone adapters. So I'm just going to show you a couple here. So this one here, it holds it in landscape mode. So it's going to hold the phone sideways, okay? And it just has a little spring here, and you just slide the phone. So that's one type that you can get there. These ones here are very common. It's just spring loaded, and it just has a little quarter 20 adapter at the bottom. You just put it in, and then it screws into a tripod or to a monopod or whatever. But again, it's fairly limited. Here's another one. This one here. So this one you can actually, it has a nut here, so you can mount it this way or you can mount it this way. So that's not bad too. That one is pretty good. Now this one here in particular I like, and this one here mounts at the bottom this way, but you can easily take it and turn it this way. So you can have the phone very quickly, you can turn it 90 degrees or however you want. And there's a little adjustment back here. You can tighten this up and it'll keep it nice and rigid. This one also has a little nut where you can make it wider or tighter, and basically the phone just snaps in. The other thing, or the reason why I like this one too, is that it has an elevated base. So when you compare it to something like this, the phone is just sort of hanging freely at the bottom. Whereas here, there's a little bit of a support. So the bottom of the phone actually rests right here. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll just grab my phone, and you'll see that as you put this down, okay, it's actually, it's like a cradle almost. It's holding it here at the bottom. So I kind of like that for this particular reason, that you get this extra support at the bottom. So when you're holding it, you know, it's not just being held from the sides. So that's the phone adapter for the tripod. Now on this one here, I have a ball head here, and I found that these are super useful because you often want to change the position of the phone, okay? Now, so sometimes you want to have it pointing down a little bit more, sometimes you want to have it straight or back, whatever it might be. So having a little ball head adapter in between the monopod or pole or whatever it is that you're using with the adapter is kind of helpful. Now, there's probably a whole bunch of different types of adapters out there. If you have any suggestions or whatever, let me know. There's a whole bunch you can get online, Amazon, or whatever. So let's start talking about monopods and poles. So I'm going to start with this one here. And this one already has a little, I just put this up on here. It's a little ball head. Let me take that off. So this one here is sort of unique because I had to make a little bit of a fabrication here to get this work. This was actually a monopod for a digital camera, and it was this way. So you normally mount the camera on this, the larger end, and there was a little rubber foot that goes up on the bottom. Now I actually 3D printed something here where I put a quarter 20 thread here, so I can put a 360 camera, or I can put the phone adapter up on this end too. So I can use either side. And this one is an Amazon one. This one says Sunpack 6700. Okay, it's nice and compact. And then if I expand this out, it's just got these little latches. And you see that it's got a few sections to it. So it's a pretty good size. You can see I can move this pretty far. So I like this one for that reason. It's a decent size. Okay, so that's one option that you can use here. And I think there's a whole bunch on, again, Amazon basics ones and stuff like that. Now, more recently, I got this one, and this is Manfrotto. Okay, so this is a compact monopod, and I really like this one. It's fairly sturdy. It's well built. And of course, Manfrotto is a name brand, so it's a little bit more expensive. So in the kit, it actually comes with a ball head already, and it comes with a GoPro adapter. So you get both of those, which is quite nice. Now this one isn't as long as the other one, but let me just extend this one. But it's not bad. This is nice because it's compact. You can throw it in your backpack and no problem. So certainly not as long as the other one, but still useful. If you're just doing a regular car or pickup or something like that, this will definitely get you high enough. Now, the other thing about this one here, let me just put this down here, is on the back end. So on this here, there's this little just rubber base, but this actually comes off. And now you get another threaded end here. And the reason I like that is you can do other things with it. So for example, this is just a little tripod base, a very simple one. This one comes from a company called Kappa Targets that I bought from. And with an adapter in between here, I can actually have this stand on its own. So if I'm just going around and I just want to put this down for a second, if it's just a pole, I have to kind of figure out where to put this. But I can have a little tripod at the base here, and then I can just like put it down on the ground and hold it up. Now, in order to do that, because I have two male ends, I've actually manufactured a small little, this is just a 3D printed cylinder, and I put a 1/4-20 long nut in the middle. And so what this does is it just attaches here. It's sort of an intermediate piece like that. And then I can get the selfie stick like this. Okay, and now I have a little tripod that I can just put down like that. So if you're walking around, you can also fold this down and hold it from here as a little extension handle. And then when you get, whatever, tired or you want to put this down for a second, you just put it down, you rest it. And you can use it as a regular tripod too. So you can put something on the end like a camera and then just have it point at you. So anyway, these can be useful if, you know, certainly not a requirement, but they can be useful if you're traveling and stuff like that. And like I said, it's small enough, you can just, you know, unscrew it and you're good to go. All right, now what happens if you really got to get up high? So if you're doing a tractor trailer, you're doing something where, you know, it's just not convenient to use these smaller poles. Well, you can use a larger pole, and there are a number out there on the internet that you can look at. I'm going to just show you this one here. This is just a standard painter's pole. That's all it is. And this is one of the smaller ones that I have. So I have a larger one than this. So this one goes to 2.4 meters, so 4 foot to 8 foot, 1.2 meters to 2.4 meters. I have another one that's even taller than this one. And so this is fiberglass at the base. It looks like it's aluminum up here. It has these little notches, okay, and then you can lock it in. So you can set it to whatever height you want. But fully extended, okay, that's something like that. So that's pretty good. That's quite lengthy, and that should get me above most vehicles that I need. Now, in order to make this work, there's a couple of things. Let me unscrew this. So this is the standard end that you would get off of any, you know, like a broom handle or whatever. And so you need an adapter. So let me put this down here. Now the adapter, I have a ball head on here as well. You end up getting a lot of ball heads for the different things you need. But this is the adapter. It's just threaded on the inside to adapt to the pole, and then there's a 1/4-20 attachment on the front here. Again, you can find these online. They're relatively inexpensive, so no problem there. And you can use it on any pole you want. Even there's some really cheap painter's poles, broomsticks, whatever you have, you can use it there, no problem. Okay, other things that are possible. So in Recon 3D, there is an option to scan with the flashlight or the torch on. So you just hit the button and it lights things up. So if you're in a situation where it's dark, that extra bit of lighting will often get you additional points, feature points for tracking and for matching. So that's really important. But what happens when you get into a really, really dark situation, or maybe there isn't a lot of lighting or enough lighting from the phone itself? Well, in that case, again, a lot of this stuff is just fabricated. I have a similar tripod here that I had before. So this is just one of the folding ones. And what I've done here is I've constructed a little light rig. So let me put my phone in here so you get the idea. So I have one of the same phone adapters like that. And what I've done is, actually this has got to go the other way because the lights should be the other way. So these need to be around like that. They got to point. I just hooked it up wrong, so let me just spin it around here. There we go. All right, so it's something like this. I would be scanning this way and I have these two lights. And there's just these two little brackets that you put it on. And now these lights here are from Fox Fury. I think they're called the Rugo lights. But basically if I turn these on, and I'll just put them on, there's a few different settings. You get something like this. So if I'm scanning, and now they go a lot brighter too. So if I go, okay, let me see if that's the brightest. Yeah. There you go. That's pretty bright, so I can see it's illuminating the wall there and even over here. So I've tried this at night, and this can be useful. So let's say, for example, it's dark, even if there's just sort of lighting, street lighting and that sort of thing. If you're scanning a vehicle or you're scanning something and it happens to be in the shadow or it's in a shaded area, there's no features to pick up. So what happens is you lose points in those particular areas. However, if you illuminate it and give it some light and features to track, all of a sudden it just comes in and you end up getting data. So scanning at night, you need some extra lighting, and there's different ways you can do this. So there are some of the the phone adapters that you can get, which will be have like an extra mount. So for example, on this one that I showed you before, there's a mount here, but there's also a mount on the side. So for example, I could put this on, put the phone on, and off the side, I could hang a light, you know, sideways or something, and this way I get some additional lighting. Okay, so lighting can be helpful for you, and that's kind of useful. Now, targets. So this is the April tag that is used for reference scale measurements, and the targets are used for scaling the project accurately. So if you want increased accuracy, you need to use the scale targets. Now there's a couple of things that are prototypes here, and I'll just show them to you, and I'm going to do another video just on targets because well, they're very important and there's some different considerations. However, you know, you can print these out just on 8.5 by 11. You can make them bigger. I wouldn't make them much smaller though, okay? The smaller they are, the closer the phone needs to be. So the larger they are, the better that they're detected from farther away. And so, you know, you can just print some of these out, print them on something more rigid, maybe like a cardstock, or some people can get them laminated on foam core board, something like that. Now, I actually have a prototype here, and this is a 3D printed panel, and you see it's actually on a mini tripod. Now, this can be mounted both this way, and it can be mounted like sort of vertically this way, so horizontally and vertically. And the idea here is that if you have two of these, another accessory that you should invest in is going to be either a tape measure or a laser disto. Now, I like the laser disto if you are going to be taking center-to-center measurements. You can just back it up to the back end, okay, and then what you do is you just hit the target on the other end. And if the target is properly centered and everything's level, you can get a center-to-center distance or edge-to-edge distance. So, like I said, this is a prototype right now. It's not fully there. There's some other little features that have to be put on to get it to work. However, you know, you could just use it with something like this and just measure center to center, or just use a steel tape and measure center to center as well. No problem there. All right, other things. Battery, power. So if you're going to be scanning a lot, you will eventually run out of battery. So as soon as you turn Recon 3D on, okay, or even on your camera, the LiDAR sensor turns on right away, okay? So it doesn't come on when you're recording, it's actually on even before then. So, you know, after an hour, a couple hours of scanning, you're probably gonna run out of juice. So you need some kind of battery backup, a battery bank or something that you can plug into your phone and just keep it charging. So this is kind of a big one. There's others that are smaller. You know, you just, you know, think about where you're going, where you're traveling, and if you are going to be in the middle of nowhere, always have some battery backup with you. That's useful. So another thing here that I didn't mention is that if you're going to be using an iPad or even your iPhone for that matter, you want to have some kind of protection on here, okay? So you're going to be moving this thing up on a pole, or even as you're moving around an object, there's a good chance you're going to bump into something or whatever. You could, you know, with the pole or whatever, you bump a corner. You don't want to crack your screen. It's an expensive piece of equipment, even though it's something that everybody has. So this is a protective case for the iPad, and I find this very useful. It's really thick on the sides with rubber. Again, you can find these all over the place, but you know, this one has a little strap on the back for your hand. You can rotate this, It also has a little leg that comes out, so you can keep this in portrait or landscape mode if you're working on your iPad. And it also has a strap. Now, I don't have the strap here right now in this second, but you can put the strap on and just carry it around with you or whatever. The strap is not that long, so if you do have it on and you have to extend this really far, it's going to get caught up on your neck. So that's one of the reasons why I have it off right now. But it can be quite useful depending on what it is that you're scanning, or if you just want to put the iPad down for a second. So good protection for the iPad. It also has a protective film on the front, and that's useful too. Okay, the only other thing that you need is a pen and paper. So sometimes when you get to a facility or whatever, or you're scanning something, you may want to take some notes, okay? So recording just different features or something that's important or unique to the scan, you may want to record it down, or you may want to just record it on the phone as audio or something like that. So just keeping good notes, what was your reference measurement, so you can just remember it. Now, some of this you can pick up later on inside of the phone. It has all the data for the different scans, but it's always good to have it readily available too. So that's pretty much it. That's a whole bunch of different types of accessories that you can get for your phone, for your iPad. Poles are very important for getting on top of things, and if you want an accurate set of data captured, then you need to use these targets. So make sure you print these out and have a set with you as well. All right, thanks a lot. Happy scanning.